Well, welcome back to Cap Report After Hours. I am Tom Dutcher with a panel along with former Bridgeport Mayor Bill Finch, who brought props. He bought Saturn rockets, huh? Come on. You know, Bill, who is now executive director of the Bridgeport Discovery Museum.
The Discovery Museum and Planetarium.
A great place to go. So what's
We're going to put Healy in this and then send him off.
I'm game.
He would prefer that to
welcome. So what's the Saturn V rocket? What's the Saturn rocket here for? Bill, what's the Saturn rocket here for?
Well, the Discovery Museum in over by Sacred Heart is where I'm hanging my hat these days.
Good.
And it's exciting that we can really try to work with people to ignite a sense of discovery and to encourage scientific inquiry, which is often lacking in our political discussion. So I'm really excited about it. There's a professor right down the street here at Yale Law School that said that scientific inquiry breeds nonpartisanship and good decision-making and good citizens. So I think I'm sort of still in the same game, but from a nonpartisan angle where we can help people come to better public decisions.
Chris thinks the world is flat. That's well, it's a lot easier.
I've seen no proof as compelling.
It's easier to mow the lawn that way. But I will say this.
You shouldn't be mowing your lawn. It's polluting.
Yeah.
He's got one of those push mowers.
I've actually got a
rotating blade ones.
Yeah.
I used to use one of those.
But the question I had is how much should we be doing more in schools about, to your point of science, more coursework in science at the high school level, secondary school level, even the elementary school level than we have now? Do you think there's more is needed?
Well, you know, there's the new curricula, and
he's on the Board of Education.
I need to know these things.
Yeah, there's the new curricula, and the Discovery Museum has really pioneered a lot of new ways with hands-on education. So
hands-on.
Yes. Pun intended.
I was hoping you'd pick up on that. So this is printed on a 3D printer by the kids at the Discovery, and by the way, it's not just for kids. You know, the exhibits that are there are all interactive, and they're really for people from, you know, kids up to 100.
From 8 to 80.
Up to 100. So the kids printed all these parts, and there's a professor and an inventor in India they work with where they're actually going to be, at some point, doing this for children because the children grow so quickly, and the prosthetics are so...
Keep that middle one down.
I know, I was trying. It won't go down.
You know, Chris is always, he's always with the public policies. What? I don't understand. Yeah. But, Mr. Board of Ed member, we would really love to be more involved with you because we've noticed, as many educators have, that when children are actually active and involved and using a 3D printer and doing things we couldn't do when we were kids, for sure, we probably can't do them now.
Well, you know, every kid, at least in our schools, and I'm sure everyone have Chromebooks now, and the possibilities for them to do the things you're talking about, especially with science, are endless. And in the new in the workforce that we're trying to have, we need more kids that are.
Imagine if you could take your family, your Republican state leadership and go, or Democrat, and go to a simulated space launch where you are in the International Space Station or the Challenger, it's the Challenger exhibit, or you're in outer space. And the next room over is a group of people who are solving all the problems that you're running into in outer space at a simulated mission control. Right. It's a team building experience like you can't get anywhere. And I think, you know, maybe we ought to have some of our leadership from the legislature do team building in a setting like that. When you're in space and you die if you don't figure the problem out.
Some of them are in outer space now.
well, we can hope that the
experience. Still playing with toys.
So how do we encourage our politicians to focus on not so much tolls or gas taxes, but on educating science and math in our schools, which is clearly one of your missions?
It is, and we do train.
And how do you help? How do you get that message out as a former mayor and legislator? Yeah.
Well, we just met yesterday with the first selectman of Fairfield, Mike Tetro, who is one of the only towns that actually contributes cash to the Discovery Museum, and in return for that, we train his teachers. We just had Osborne Hill School in. You probably know that school. Today it was noisy. The kids. Well, we're not really a museum because when you come there with your kids, Tom,
hands-on.
It's all interactive. So you move things around, you blow things up, you push them through, you drop them, you smash them, you throw things, and you learn science.
You guys have a magnet school too, though, right? Is it a magnet school, or how is that set up?
Here's the cool thing for me. You know, I have always loved the Discovery Museum. I went there as a kid. I brought my kids there. And when we were expanding the school system to build new interdistrict magnets, I insisted that the Discovery Magnet Science K-8 was right next door to the Discovery Museum. So we have a member of their science staff on our board. We use their space, they use our space. It's a great way for the public schools to be more efficient, to be located next to a museum, because you can share spaces. You don't have to be as big in both cases, and you really be efficient.
Isn't there a high school program too, or no?
There is, and we then also built, no, thank you.
My neighbor is in it, that's why I know.
Well, it's lottery. I just found out my son didn't get in.
Oh, wow.
So
I hear great things about it from my neighbor.
Your son didn't get in? What the hell's the matter with you?
Well, it's all objective, and
that's no fair.
This is the most high-minded discussion we've had on here.
Well, it's
Thank you for raising the discourse around here.
Well, in the back of the museum, I then also, when I was mayor, they came to me with this crazy idea of a ropes course. And I said, I want that there. So now one of the first exhibits you see in the Science Museum is the physics of the rope course. Gravity, friction, the mechanics of the body. And so the kids get on a miniature version, and then hopefully they go in the back and through the up in the trees version.
Bill, do you go on there, Bill?
Yeah, really? I love it.
Let's all go. Zip line.
After hours.
Field trip.
How do you get your kids off of these things?
Yeah.
It's almost impossible.
Put you in spandex and go up on a roller coaster.
Everything but the spandex.
What are the ages for the museum or
really,
Science
there
Center?
really is no.
Sounds like Iggy and Frankie.
I love it, and
So you can go.
I was
That's
just
the
going to say
question.
that's
You
right.
can go.
Well, I was asking more about my little ones. It sounds like the 2 and 4 that.
Maybe Trump can go and he can learn more about science.
if you really want to, the younger children, this is, we don't compete. The Stepping Stone Museum for really little children, it's really good. And then as they get to be a little bit older, it really makes sense.
All right, we got 2 minutes left, so we're not going to let you off the hook on politics. We'll let you make a pitch with the hours for the museum at the end. So give us your read on being on the outside. You have the Joe Ganim, who's back, who unfortunately beat you. Right now he's running for.
Way to rub it in there.
Well, it's a fact. It's a fact.
Way to say
Running
that.
for governor now. So what's your read on the politics in Connecticut, Bill?
Well, I've been working for Governor Cuomo for 2 years, so I have to beg off a little bit. I'm not at all up to date like I used to be. I could talk to you about New York politics, but I don't think your viewers are so much interested in that.
Well, thanks for the new Tappan Zee Bridge, by the way.
That was an honor. I wasn't really interested in going to work at the Thruway until I realized what an amazing organization it was, and that I was going to be able to build the largest infrastructure project in the United States.
So how
He's
about
still trying to dump the question about Joe Ganim running for governor.
So tolls obviously is a big part of New York's infrastructure.
Sure.
What are your feelings about having it closer to home?
Well, if you want to do big things, like build a new world-renowned beautiful bridge, then you should have tolls.
You got to pay for it.
Got to pay for it.
You got to pay for it, and you shouldn't promise people a free lunch. You got to tell them how you're going to. It's the thing that we always talk about in the legislature. You can't just say I want to do something. Where's the money going to come from? Mayors know that.
You got to make sure that money
Mark
is actually
Boughton
there
knows
to
that.
use.
Yes.
The mayors know that.
You got to make sure that money is there to
Absolutely.
use. Too many false promises and raids on funds that don't need to
Well,
be raised.
our money never left the Thruway. For 60 years that it's been there, all the money that was raised on the tolls went into running the road, paying the workers to maintain the road and replace all of the bridges and infrastructure. It's a perfect example of how it can work. When Dewey did it, there was no federal aid. And the interesting thing about the bridge,
Tappan Zee?
Yeah.
well, Robert, it's the Mario Cuomo bridge.
Robert Moses Bridge.
Yeah.
Robert Moses, who created the entire concept of the.
But you know
tunnel
why the bridge
authority.
is where it is?
Yeah.
It's at the least efficient location, ladies, because men couldn't get along. Robert Moses had a jurisdiction 25 miles from the Statue of Liberty.
Right.
And Dewey wanted to build a toll road that he couldn't build without the toll on the bridge, because that generates a third of the revenue probably for the Thruway. So he had to build it there. It's the siltiest, widest, muckiest, hardest place to build a bridge, but because the guys couldn't figure it out.
That's why we need more women in elected
Well, I
office.
couldn't agree with you more.
All right, we'll leave it there. So, Bill, give us hours and locations and
Best thing
address.
to do is go to discoverymuseum.org. We're closed Mondays, but we're loaded with
But
kids.
Bill will come in and open it up free if you want to come.
I will. I'm there all the time, and we're gonna do some really cool things there. And I think it's going to mean a lot to the state that we have this sort of resource with the
Congratulations.
Challenger.
And I think you will find this
Yeah.
role far more fulfilling than mayor of Bridgeport or a senator
I
in the
tell people, look,
legislature.
I'm the mayor of a concept now, not
Right.
just a city. Discovery.
And you got lots
Good
of-
for you.
Oh, good for you. Let's give him a hand.
Okay, that middle finger.
Yeah, I know.
That'll
that
do it
was
for
good.
California After Hours.
I
See
knew
you
you were
guys
here.
next
I
week.
disabled the